Hey everybody, Mark from Rams Up here, and we have another segment of our Rapping with a Rams fan. We had Ernesto Salgado of Mexico City on a few weeks ago, and I asked, hey, any of you Ram fans that want to come on the show, please send me an email. And today I have Jon Perry with me. How's it going, Jon?
Great. Hey, thanks for having me on, Mark.
Yeah, I love doing this, talking to other Ram fans and getting their history. And we've had this little network that I've built here, if you want to call it that. Ernesto from Mexico City, Paul Walia lives in Long Island, uh, Ian's an LA guy. Tom Quartz is up in the Central Valley somewhere, and you are. Tell everybody where you reside at this time.
Yeah, I live in a town called Richland, Washington. It's in southeast Washington.
And that's, I suppose, you're surrounded mostly by Seahawk fans. Is that the case?
Yes, very much so. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
that creates an interesting dynamic at neighborhood barbecues, I suppose. So, give us your story. You're originally from the LA area, I assume.
No, I'm actually I've spent my pretty much most of my life right here in this southeast Washington. Went away to college and then came back, and so I've been here for I'm 60 years old, so for pretty much all my life.
So, how'd you become a Rams fan?
Um, my dad was a Rams fan, and when he had me, he apparently I've been told that I was named after the Rams running back John Arnett. So I get to put that on my Rams fan resume. I think that's kind of an interesting factoid. And so, he watched Rams games as I got old enough to start consuming football and enjoying it. I got a little bit more early exposure to Rams, and I liked the helmet. The horn was my fascination. I think that locked me in, and so early '70s. I can. That's about when I think I started to become a Rams fan, watching games with my
So,
dad.
was your father from the SoCal area?
No, I don't. Unfortunately, we didn't. I'm not sure why he was a Rams fan. He's pretty much born and raised here as well, here in the local area. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I guess I made the assumption, especially when you said your dad was a John Arnett fan out of USC and kind of a Hollywood guy. He made some appearances in TV shows. He's a really good looking guy. Kind of fit that one of those of several old Ram fans in the 50s and 60s and the early 70s that were really a pretty big deal in SoCal and in the Hollywood arena, appearing in TV shows. And for those of you that don't know about John Arnett, and I kind of kick myself for not talking about him more, kind of a forgotten guy, but he played football at USC, had a really good career, was drafted by the Rams, and I think had 4 or 5 seasons, really productive seasons. I checked this morning. He's the 14th leading rusher in Rams history, which is, considering all the great running backs the Rams have had, that's nothing to shake your head at. And then I don't know how familiar you are with his career, but it's worth talking about since you're both Johns, right? He developed a knee injury, and I was reading about his career. And when he developed that knee sprain, that persistent chronic knee injury, it reminded me a lot of what happened to Todd Gurley. His career just kind of fell off. He lost that ability to elusiveness in the open field, the speed, and he became kind of just another running back. But his first 4 or 5 years, he was really good. Quite the football player. Are you familiar with his career, or is it more of your dad's wheelhouse, knowing about John Arnett?
No, you're right. It is more my dad's wheelhouse, and you probably just told me more about him than I knew previously. So that was when I was born. Is when he was, his career was, I think, winding down about when I was born, and so I was born in '64. I think the early '70s is when I started to be able to start, remembering names. So I never got to see John Arnett play, but I did. My first, in preparation for this show, I tried to think who were the first Rams players I can remember watching on TV, and I remember Roman Gabriel and Jack Snow. Those are the first two names I can still recall, and seeing them play.
Yeah, that was kind of the same for me. I mean, I came in, I started paying attention really after the Fearsome Foursome, maybe the twilight of their era, but it was Roman Gabriel and Jack Snow, and then the '70s, and it just drives me crazy because the '70s were the decade that could have been for the Rams, right? All those NFC Championship games, and walked away with one Super Bowl appearance in '79 at the 1980 Super Bowl, which they lost, of course. But I'm wondering if, trying to think about this, and I didn't do the research, but when your dad was younger, obviously the Seahawks didn't exist. So who
No.
did he have to choose from, right? And the Denver was originally an AFL team. I know there's a lot of people up in that Northwest that are Bronco fans. So that leaves the 49ers and the Rams. And you're right, there are a lot of Ram fans. I mean, I think they have the best helmet in football without a doubt. And I think there are, a smattering of Ram fans across the country that just jumped on, became Ram fans because of that, because of their uniform and their helmet. It's really as simple as that, I think. Do you
Yeah,
do you
that's
do
what it
you
was for me.
yeah,
I was
yeah, in the 1970s, that was just a great era. And, the I think the guys that, if you were to ask me who, what players were emblematic of the '70s, probably be guys like Jack Youngblood, and Fred Dryer, guys like that. That was just a great time. So, let's see you mentioned in your bio that you have two sons and one of them is a Ram fan, which begs the question. The first thing that came to mind for me, well, what about the other one?
um, he's not a Rams fan. I don't think I don't know that he has a favorite team, and he just didn't jump on the wagon with Michael. Michael's my son that's a Rams fan. So my other son's name is Gabe. But Gabe last year, he dove into being an NFL uh, consumer, and that was because of fantasy football, which is another thing I get to enjoy with my boys. So, yeah, no, I don't have an explanation for why Gabe hasn't joined Michael and I, but he does. I think he gently pulls for him if he has it, if we're watching a game. He's just not a fan like Michael though and I are.
Yeah, I think I was working on this little bit I was going to do about what level of a Ram fan you are, and I struggled to do it because sometimes it just I recorded some of it and it comes off as a little condescending, like I'm a bigger Ram fan than you, and that's not where I wanted to go with it. But one thing I did realize is I call them level one Ram fans, and they're people who are someone very dear and near to them is a Rams fan. So for that reason alone, they root for the Rams. And my wife would probably be in that category because she just wants the Sunday afternoon to be pleasant, and the Monday and the Tuesday as well. So she has a vested interest in the Rams winning, even though she could probably name a couple of players, but I'm not even sure of that. And that's probably where Gabe's coming from, I guess, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, and as far as your other son, Michael, it reminds me of my son when he was, I don't know, was he like 9 years old, and he started watching games with me a little bit, and that was the year this third string, second string quarterback took over, Kurt Warner, and he started watching those games with me, the greatest show on turf, and I don't think he knew really or appreciated what came before that. And he was just watching the games with me, going, "Hey, man, your team's pretty good, Dad. I kind of like this." And I had to gently try to explain to him that you're just coming in at a really good time. So buckle up.
I got a opportunity here now to brag on Michael a little bit. He started joining me as a Rams fan and watching games in a different scenario than you got to with your son. Um, we I think started watching Rams games during one of the dark periods in their past. It was when I think Jeff Fisher had kind of stepped in as their coach, and right about the early stages of his coaching tenure with the Rams is when Michael suffered along with me. But it didn't stop us from getting excited every year, going down and watching the games. At that time, we had to go to a place where they were streaming the games. We couldn't watch them here locally, so we had to work to get to a place where we could watch them. And I think for him, maybe it was partly the atmosphere. I got to take him down. We'd find a restaurant and get him a lemonade, and just the event of it made him, I think, hopefully stay with it. And then he stayed on. He stayed through those rough years, and finally, when we got Coach McVay, we started to see success. And I think then he became an official Rams fan. I think he started now thinking, oh, wait a minute, this has been worth it. I got to suffer, and now I get the we're in a really good time right now as Rams fans. We've had success here for many years in a row, so I think he's enjoying it.
Yeah, that's kind of been the history of the Rams. They have these ups and downs, these periods where they're just really horrible, and then the other times where they're just really good. I have to ask you, I'm really curious now. I don't like to characterize entire fan bases, but the Seattle Seahawks fan base, and to me, they've always been, I don't know if I want to use the word pleasant, but tolerable for sure. The ones that I've been around and the ones I've talked to, I engage Seahawk fans a lot, over the course of a year here and there. And usually it's, they have a healthy respect for the Rams for good reason. I think there are a lot of fan bases across the country that don't really appreciate how good the Rams can be or have been periodically. But I think Seahawk fans get it because we do really well up there. What's your experience living among Seahawk fans and for your son as well? And going to, you say you had to work to get to a place where they're streaming the game. I assume you're talking about a local sports bar or
Yeah.
that type of place. Have you? How do you feel about Seahawk fans? What's it like living amongst them?
Um, I don't know that I have anything real exciting to be able to say. I don't think they're hostile. I think the local area, I think, has people that are respectful for all of the different types of fans that are here. And being that we're in Eastern Washington, I don't think it's maybe quite as strong of a fan base as it might be over in Western Washington. So there's still a lot of other fans in this part of the state of Washington. The majority, of course, are Seahawk fans, but yeah, I don't think anybody's. Um, I just think it's a they're the people here are they're respectful for other people's teams. And like at a sports bar, there might be multiple teams going, so there's usually a lot of people watching Pittsburgh and some of the bigger names, Dallas Cowboys and so forth. So yeah, I don't have anything real
Yeah, I guess
special about.
when you walk into those environments, you kind of expect to see, jerseys from other teams. Now, I don't know about, going to school or, a place of work or, wearing a Rams jersey. It might be a little bit different, but apparently not. So that's good though. That's good though. I mean, living in Southern California, there's thousands of fans for virtually every team. It seems like, except for maybe a few exceptions, but you can walk around any public space and good chance you're going to see hats and jerseys from 25 teams or more. And that's a good thing though. I just embrace it. But there's a couple of fan bases that annoy me a little bit more, but Seahawk fans and the ones that I know, we have good time, and it's never hostile. So that's
I
good.
you just made me think of something as you're talking about the Seahawk fans. I think actually I'd give them a thumbs up, really. And I think because I am a Rams fan and living in Seahawk country, if you will, they know more about the Rams than they know about other teams. For example, if I were in Arizona, or well, let's say not in Arizona, but if I were a team in a different division, if that was my favorite team, they might not be able to sit and have a discussion with me about
Yeah.
our favorite players, but they're very familiar with the Rams players, and so I can sit there and kind of jabber with them, about Rams and Seahawks real well because they know our players so well.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I hadn't really thought about that, but I can think of a couple of Seahawk fans I know. And when I bump into them, we usually talk for half an hour, 45 minutes about our teams. Where if it was a Viking fan, probably wouldn't have a lot to talk about. You know,
Right.
certainly not as much as you would with a Seahawk fan. So that's a good point. That's a good perspective. Hadn't thought of
Yeah, the
that.
the the favorite player they like to talk about is Aaron Donald. So they don't they've had a lot of bad memories from that guy.
Yeah, and I we have a lot of overall the Rams have done relatively well against the Seahawks, but there's a couple of Seahawk players that have always Tyler Lockett. I don't know how many times he has caught 48-yard passes against us in the fourth quarter when we think we've got the game won, and then there he is hauling in a pass for into the red zone or for a touchdown. And you're like, oh, okay, this game isn't quite over.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. Else do I got here? I have my rapid fire questions. You ready for those?
Yes.
Yeah, so for those of you, well, this is the first time I've done this. So what I want to do whenever we do one of these episodes, I have you, if I have someone on, a Rams fan on, and hey, any listeners, viewers out there, if you want to join me for a segment like this, send me an email, ramsuppodcast@gmail.com, and we will set it up. I think it's a lot of fun. And I'm going to start asking these 6 questions, and maybe I'll change them up a little bit. And in ensuing episodes, you'll have an advantage. John doesn't know what's coming here, but they're pretty easy questions. Just kind of like getting to know you a little bit better. So, question number 1, and you maybe have given this away, but yeah, maybe not. Maybe you've given away who your dad's favorite player was, but who is your favorite Ram player all time?
Well, I may cheat. I think Cooper Cup is going to be either number one, or there could be a couple two or a couple more that I'll mention that I think are close seconds. I just want to say their names because I like them so much. I like Kurt Warner. I like Eric Dickerson, and then we'll see. I think maybe a little more time. Puka was awfully fun to watch last year. Puka
Oh
Nakua.
man, Puka is. I don't know if you caught our segment on Paul and I did our 5 favorite players, and I had Puka up there just because he's just his personality. I mean, you just got to love it. And I just realized now, where? How far away are you from Eastern Washington University?
Yeah, I was hoping you might ask about that.
I forgot about
So
that. Yeah.
yeah, only about 2 hours, and I did live in Cheney. That's where Eastern Washington is at for 2 years while my dad was going to school. So I've been into the same campus where Cooper played football. But before he played at Cheney, he was also he's from Washington State. He's from Yakima, Washington, which is only about an hour from where I live. And so he played uh, right here in our hometown when he was in high school. So yeah, very much a local guy. That's probably a good portion of why he's one of my favorite players.
Yeah, and another Eastern Washington guy, Samson Ebukon.
Yep.
I always butcher his last name, but he got drafted. I always wondered, and it's very possible this is how it played out. I could just see the Rams scouting department flying out to Eastern Washington, one of their scouts, and just scout Cooper and noticing Sampson and drafting him as well. Um, okay, that's so Cooper Cup. That's reasonable given where you're from, where you live, and everything. And Cooper Cup, man, one of the great. Possibly, he still has a shot at being one of the top Ram receivers of all time. And just like the running backs, that's no small feat. He's not quite there, but man, a couple more years, a couple more solid seasons, going to put him up there with Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, in my opinion. Okay, question number two. Who do you think is the most underappreciated Ram player of all time?
Oh wow. Hmm.
You can take a moment to think about it because I know this is, is there a Ram player that just doesn't get the love that he deserves? And maybe even just a current player that you think it just is much better than the public realizes.
Yeah, I think the name that jumped to mind that I don't hear often uh, when we think of the 2000 version of the Rams when they had the greatest show on turf, Ricky Prohl. I don't. His name doesn't pop up very often, but I remember him making so many clutch plays. We had Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt getting a lot of the press for all that was a great offense. But I remember Ricky Prohl making a lot of clutch catches for us.
Yeah, and we put together that I think it was the 10 greatest plays in Rams playoff history, and his catch against the Bucks. That's got to be up there. Put us in the Super Bowl. Yeah, Ricky Prohl. Good answer. Now, question number three. I was going to ask who's on your Rams Mount Rushmore, but that you'd really have to give that a lot of thought. It took me forever to come up with my Mount Rushmore. But who do you think is the greatest Ram of all time? Just hands down, he's the guy, the number one player.
I
Doesn't have to be your favorite. Just on the field, who was the best?
I think I'm going to probably not give enough weight to the guys who played before I really started, you know, paying as much attention as I could. And when I was younger, there's going to be some great Rams that came before my time that I'm probably going to not identify here. But I can think of a few that I think Kurt Warner has to be on that list. Um, Boy, there's a lot that I want to say, but I'll try to be picky. I think Eric Dickerson, he just really stands out for me. Um, Boy, there's so many. And Isaac Bruce was great. Oh boy, Marshall Falk was great. They had some linemen
Okay.
that were great. Yeah.
Yeah, offensive and defensive, and AD number 99.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. How could I not mention him? Yeah.
yeah, and this is tough for you because again, I'm just throwing these out without any warning, and these are the types of questions that you could haggle over for 2 hours over beers in a bar very easily. So I apologize for kind of throwing these at you, blindsiding you, but it's a good discussion. My greatest, well, I should probably share my three. My favorite Ram player of all time is SJ39, Steven Jackson. I've probably shared that several times. The greatest Ram of all time. I go with AD, and it's difficult. Like you alluded to it. How do you compare Aaron Donald with Deacon Jones? How do you compare Cooper Kupp with Elroy Crazy Legs or Hirsch? And there's two schools of thought. One is you compare them to their peers. How much better were they compared to their peers, the other players of their time? And then the other is, on the field right now, who would be better? But if you use that latter approach, these guys from the 50s and 60s, you couldn't even consider them, in my opinion. And then, you also got to consider their body of work. Guys like Jackie Slater. Orlando
Mm.
Pace was probably a better tackle than Jackie Slater, but Jackie Slater played for 20 some years. I mean, so, I'm not going to tell you where I come down on that, but it's just a difficult question. And that's why you can have these discussions in a bar for 2 hours over beers rather than me just rapid firing them at you here. So And who is the most underappreciated Ram? I haven't really answered that yet myself, so I'm going to give that some thought. Maybe by the time we're done here, I'll come up with a name. Question number 4, and um, up in Seattle, I'm curious, how many Ram games have you been to?
I was thinking that you would ask me that question, and it seems almost a little embarrassing to say I haven't been to one yet, and yet I still call myself a Rams fan. So I have not yet been to a Rams game. I've only been to one professional football game in my life, and that was, interestingly, I was on a trip back east, and I watched the Seahawks play the Washington with now Commanders. Um, but this fall, Michael and I are already taking a few steps to try to get to the Rams game in Seattle on November 3rd. So I might be able to claim that I've been to my first Rams game this here in 2024.
Yeah, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Some people love the in-game experience, and others, including me, I just like to lock myself in a room and watch the game for 3 hours. And I've only been to a handful of games myself, so and you have a really good excuse living up there. You only have one realistic opportunity a year. So now my fifth question is, you know, it was really gearing towards SoCal sports fans, but yeah, I'm curious, Ram fans. I'm always curious if are they a Lakers, Dodgers, Kings fan? Who's their second team? Clippers, UCLA Bruins, USC Trojans. Who is your second team?
And it has to be
You,
from the California area,
oh
LA
no, no,
area.
no. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was geared originally towards SoCal Ram fans, but for someone like you, I'm guessing maybe Eastern Washington.
Um, okay, yeah, no, I have a little bit of a homer answer. I think I have kind of taken a little bit of interest in teams that ex Rams have wound up on. So right now, I'm kind of following closely the Detroit Lions, and I've
Uh,
enjoyed watching them play with Goff there. You know, I'm happy we have Stafford. But I was happy with Goff before, and I liked him. I think we're fortunate to have had two good quarterbacks in a row here. So I would say Detroit's got my interest right now, and I know it goes back a few years, but when Kurt Warner wound up in Arizona, he took a few steps before he got there. That was a fun stretch while he was having a lot of success in Arizona. So how's that?
No, that's fine. Yeah. And, I think you just reminded me who I think my most underappreciated Ram is, and it's probably Jared Goff. And I have the receipts for this. When he was with the Rams, I certainly didn't think he was playing at an all pro level. Maybe he was close to it. But I thought the reviews he was getting, shall we say, from many Ram fans and NFL experts were just off the mark. He's a really talented guy. He has his weaknesses, but there he took a lot of heat from a lot of people for not being able to take that next step, and maybe he's doing that in Detroit. And I'll always pull for him. I won't be pulling for him obviously when the Rams and Lions meet up again, but I wish the best for him. I really do, and it just drove me crazy. The you know the commentary I would hear about his play, that people see two snippets of him getting sacked and fumbling, things like that, and they're like, "Oh, this guy's just horrible." And then you go watch the tape of the Rams Vikings, and that I think it was a Thursday night game, or that Rams Chief game at the Coliseum. He those are some of the better quarterback performances you'll ever see. So yeah, okay, Detroit Lions is your pick. Mine, for the record, is I grew up a giant Dodgers fan, but I don't know, man. I just kind of cooled on them. I still root for them, but I really love UCLA basketball. That's my second team. Okay, question number 6. I think we maybe got into this a little bit, but I don't know. What is your greatest Ram moment? What was that moment you're watching a game and it just the most monumental play in the history of the Rams for you?
Yeah, I remember the pass to Isaac Bruce in the Super Bowl win when the Kurt Warner completed the long pass to put the Rams up, and then they had to hold that lead. But when that landed, when Bruce caught the ball, took it into the end zone, that was it for me. There's been a lot of good moments, but boy, I remember letting out a loud yippee and
Right.
jumping around, and I was pretty excited when that was my best play.
Yeah, I have a list of 5 in case you struggled with this, because again, just blindsiding you with these questions, and that was one of the plays, 73 yards, and a little bit of trivia here. I've talked about this a couple of times. Very similar play in the 1950s. Oh, geez, was it Van Brocklin or Waterfield to Tom Fears for 73 yards in the NFL championship game? Little tidbit there for you. I was kind of torn, the Mike Jones tackle, which came a little bit after that. The 2 Aaron Donald plays, the sack of Jimmy G, which was in a NFC Championship game, and the sack of Joe Burrow, and then the Ricky Pearl catch. But I went with Mike Jones tackle because that officially ended, a lifetime of misery. I should say misery because we had a lot of good moments, but ended a lifetime of just falling short where it actually locked it up. But I totally feel yeah, as far as Isaac Bruce TD, that was a great moment too. Kind of pair those together, because they came very, a couple minutes apart, right?
Yep.
So those are some great moments. And I was talking to my special assistant, my son, who helps me out with a lot of this stuff, and kind of I bounced stuff off of him, and he pointed out, and we agreed that great plays against the 49ers get magnified just because of the opponent, and that's why that sack of Jimmy G and the interception by Trevin Howard have to be up there, at least up there for consideration. So even my son even said, hey, the Carson Wentz TD run is probably up there in a fairly meaningless game, but it sealed a win against the 49ers. So there you go. Hey, this has been good. Anything else you want to share that I might have missed talking about that you want to share with other Ram fans as far as your life as a Rams fan?
No, I can't think of anything that 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 I can offer up. I really do thank you for letting me join you and talk about the Rams. This has been my pleasure.
Yeah, it's been fun. And maybe after you let me know when you're getting to that Rams Seahawks game, maybe we'll have you on afterwards and you can give us a little review of the experience up there in Seattle. I'd love to hear that if you're willing to do that.
Oh, you bet. I'd like to do that. You bet.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, John, out here from Rams Up. And remember, if you want to participate in one of these, send me an email. And please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you're watching on the channel. And out here from Rams Up. Thanks a lot, John.
You bet. Thank you.